morning, everybody. Thanks for coming out. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name's Steve. I'm the town manager, and I just want to welcome you all to this master planning process. Again, it's great to see everybody out here. It's a great crew, and hopefully this will be an exciting process to go through for the next few months. Years, months. I say months, he says years. With that in mind, again, thank you. I just want to turn over to Mark McDonough, the Director of Community Development for the town.
Thank you, Steve. Everyone, welcome. Hey, we get a round of applause for everyone coming out. Really good to get excited. So here is our visioning session for our master plan, the town's master plan. And so this is the agenda that we're going to go through for this presentation. Overview of Newmarket's master plan, what we've done so far, where we are today, what our survey has told us, where we posted a couple months ago, and then where do we go from here. So that's really the real important part. It's like understanding, where we are, who we are, and then where we want to go. So I'm really excited for this opportunity. So, what is a master plan? Great question. Really, it's the town's vision, how we want to evolve the next 20 years, 10, 20 years. It's under state statute. It's one of the main functions. One of the main functions of the planning board is to have a guiding document guide town where it wants to go. It's kind of like a rational basis of creating ordinances, applying for grants, funding, and whatnot. It's really a foundational document that really drives community planning. And it sets a living dynamic, so these chapters can be updated anytime the planning board wishes to. Touchstone, guiding document, foundation document. It's a guide to capital investment, so part of the CIP process is the capital improvement program. People are familiar with that, is you have to have a master plan in order to have that. So really important. So don't think of it as the regulations, something that sits on the bookshelf. I know I said funding, but funding and a burden. This is really a community document, and that's a living document. It's the kind of breadth of the community, where it wants to go. So that's the way I would think about it. So we have a subcommittee. So the planning board is in charge of the master plan, as I said before, but they decided in this process to have a subcommittee to really provide and help the planning board create these chapters. So on the subcommittee, we have the planning board chair, Eric Bogman. Unfortunately, couldn't make it today. Jane Ford, another planning board member, Sam McKinney. He's on the Conservation Commission and Riverfront Advisory Committee. Valerie Shelton, she's a vice chair of the planning board. We have Conservation Chair, Ellen Schneider. Resident Sylvia Von Pollak. Phil Mazzaro, he's on the CIP committee, also school board. And then we have Mike Hoffman, who's a local property owner. Used to be code enforcement officer as well in town. And then Patrick Reynolds, he's on the planning board and energy advisory committee. So we have a really good breadth of people here. And we're always, we'll talk about it later, we're always looking for other people to participate. So this kind of plug for this. Help you with this, help us help you. So, anyways, the planning board, just kind of a little brief history here. Some of the chapters haven't been updated in 20 years. And, they don't necessarily have to be. There's only 2 chapters under the RSA that needs to be updated every once in a while. 5 to 10 years, it's the visioning. So this is what we're doing right now. And also future land use. All the other chapters under the state statute are discretionary. And so what the planning board has decided is kind of, all right, we have a good opportunity to lay down a new foundation and grow from here. And we want to honor what we've done in the past and all the great work we've done in the past. But now, we want to move forward and to kind of really set ourselves up to move forward in the future. So with that, because the town has changed also. Long-time residents, raise your hand. Has Newmarket changed? Not at all? Okay. A little bit, yes, no? Okay. Okay. Interesting. Good to know. So, with that, so we we decided, the planning board decided to have these chapters right in front of you. So a couple of new ones that they decided to add is the energy chapter, the downtown riverfront design chapter. So that's kind of like almost think of it as like a neighborhood plan, almost, kind of real focal point on, concentrating on, how we like to see this part of town develop. So having a little more attention. Let's see. Then those are the only ones that really have changed. I think we're adding to them. So, and then the implementation guide, kind of, talk about we don't want a bookshelf done. So this implementation guide will really help us keep on track and move forward, because that has been a problem in the past. So we really want to make this document a really powerful document and help us move forward with what the community has envisioned. So housing chapter update. So part of this, we have a couple folks besides myself talking to help us kind of understand where we are today, what we've done so far. We actually have already kicked off. You might have seen the survey. I know some folks have said that they weren't aware of it, and we really apologize. We really tried to, get the message out. But we're hoping that we can redeem ourselves and, include you in this process. We'll have more surveys coming, so I apologize for those that weren't able to take it. But because of funding mechanisms, we have decided to do. We moved forward with our housing chapter and our open space chapter. And you might have seen that survey and participated in it. So with that, I just want to let one of our subcommittee members, or two of them, tell us what we've done so far and kind of explain where we're going as well. So first off, I'll hand this over to Belle Shelley. She's on the team for the housing chapter. And so Belle, tell us all the good work we've done so far.
Lots of good work. More to come. But before I get started, how about a great round of applause for Amy and her gang?
Yeah.
And all the kids here. That's fabulous. And I am, fourth generation Newmarket, I think now. And I've been serving on the planning board forever. It really is about the kids. So, what is the future here, particularly for housing, to try to get families and kids to be able to stay in the market. So I'm just thrilled to see everybody here and, their families. So as Bart mentioned, it was 2015, we did our last housing chapter. This is all online. If anybody wants to go back down, memory lane to see what we were thinking we were going to be doing and maybe see what we, accomplished. I think Bart's going to speak a little bit to that in a minute. But that is all on the Newmarket Town website. Just a few little notes about what we're trying to do here with this housing chapter. Mark mentioned that, there are certain laws and statutes relative to master planning, and under the statutes for the state of New Hampshire, under the housing chapter, we kind of have three areas that we're trying to address. And one is to first assess the local housing conditions. What's going on now? What type of housing do we have here? What type of housing do we need? And that's getting more into the second phase, which is projecting the future housing needs. And it really is for all ages, all residents, all income. How do we really have a nice diversified community here in Newmarket that we can reach out and hopefully provide housing that meets everyone's needs. And then the overall, goal of this is to make sure that within our community we do have the safe and affordable housing. And you can't not pick up a newspaper, or who has newspapers, right? Listen to any of the programs or go on social media, and everyone's talking about affordable housing. Because it really is an issue, especially here in the Seacoast. I own a real estate company. What I have seen happen in the past 30 years is just mind-blowing. That's to the pricing and costs of ownership here. And it is, it's an issue. So hopefully through this planning process, visioning process, we can try to, at least as our community, provide some solutions for our residents and business owners who need affordable housing, have their employees be local to provide services that, we all come to love that are offered here in town. Art mentioned about, the different members who are serving on this process of updating the master plan. Our particular committee members, we've got a group of people from Stratford Regional Planning. They've been phenomenal to work with. And they've been really facilitators of the project. And they've been, doing all the data collection and analysis, and we're really relying on them to be, the broad strokes, because that's where their expertise is, that they can bring to us. Bart's been great, thank you, Bart. He's been instrumental to putting this together, getting all the great food as well. Mike Hoffman, many of you will know Mike, he's owned Stone Church. He was also the code enforcement officer, as Bart mentioned. He doesn't live in town, but this is his town. He spends his time here, he's given us, a lot. And he's still giving back now that he has, quote unquote, retired. He also owns quite a bit of property here. He also can bring a business person's perspective to our committee, as well as a landlord's perspective. And then Eric Otter and myself. Eric's background is all on engineering. He works with a lot of developers. As I mentioned, I own a real estate company. We deal with a lot of other realtors, a lot of developers and realtors throughout my career. So we have a nice, I think, well-rounded committee, but the bottom line is we really want all your input so that we can drive where we want to go in this chapter. And that's the process. The process is getting surveys done, getting the community outreach that we're doing here, really find out, what does the community need and what does the community want. Those could be at two different ends of the spectrum. So we really need to, as the planning board, kind of lay that out, figure out what's the balance. We, as the committee, will go through a lot of the data analysis. There's a lot of census numbers, demographic analysis that we have to deal with. What are the current market trends and market conditions? What are the regional housing issues? Is Newmarket the one that's going to bear the burden of a certain sector of housing, and should we be? What's happening in other areas, such as Durham? They're looking at some major zoning changes. It's going to really jumpstart housing in that community. How's that going to impact the market? What is our current stock? There's one thing to drive around town and say, oh, we've got all these single families, and we've got apartments, et cetera, manufactured housing areas, and a lot of open space. Do we have enough housing? What is that current stock? The other thing we have to realize too as a committee and as a planning board is there's an awful lot of units that are already approved in Newmarket that just haven't been built. And if we need more housing, how do we facilitate at least getting these approvals built out? We get them built out sooner rather than later. A lot of the building that you've seen going on in Newmarket in the past few years were actually approvals from back in the 1980s. It's taken that long to get to build these areas out. And we just don't want to see that again, because what happens is those approvals get grandfathered in, and then regulations change over the years, but they don't have to meet the new regulations. So we really want to be more conscientious about approving good projects that can be built. And then just doing the future projections for what we need, which is driven more by the census data. So we have been doing a lot of meeting with stakeholders, developers, landowners, realtor boards, realtors, business owners, housing authority, residents. This visioning process, a big part of why we're here today. And the whole challenge is trying to, as I said, balancing all this, meeting the demands of the community, and availability and reality of getting those demands met. So we as a committee review the past goals and objectives, what was in the prior master plan 2015 chapter. Bart's going to talk about what's been accomplished, during this time period as to housing. And then we as a committee will establish recommendations and goals and certain objectives for then the planning board to deliberate on. The planning board will go to public hearings before we ever vote on adopting a particular chapter of the master plan, all the chapters that Bart, had put up. So that's a whole nother public process and public input. So we really just encourage you, to stay involved and just, follow the town's website and weekly reports as to what's going on. And I think Bart mentioned our goal for this committee is to have our work done on June 24th to get that public review process started at the planning level. I'm around if anyone has any questions. questions now? Good, thank you.
Thank you, Val. Update, comprehensive update. So next, we have Ellen Snyder. She is the conservation chair, and she's going to tell us good work the town has done so far in this process in the past, and where we maybe some opportunities as well.
Thank you, Bart. Good morning. I'm Ellen Snyder. Sorry, I'm a little cold. Chair of the Conservation Commission. I've been here nearly 30 years, amazingly, and excited still to be here in town. It's a vibrant downtown, lots of conserved land, diverse community, and I'll say from the Conservation Commission perspective, we have great partnerships with all the town departments, which I think is somewhat unique. I talk to colleagues and peers in other towns, so I really appreciate that about Newmarket. So we are, the Conservation Commission is facilitating the Land and Water Conservation Chapter update as part of the master plan, which includes open space, the water resources, which actually is a pretty good chapter already, so we'll just be updating that as needed, and natural resource inventory. And so as part of that, the Regional Planning Commission has done these incredible maps as part of this process. So not only these 3 maps, but I think there's 7 to 10 other maps. And so that helps us figure out what we have for resources in town, you know, how much conserved land we have. So that really helps in our process. And so the open space plan will be updated somewhere around the end of May, and then that information will be extracted into the actual chapter in the master plan update. It was really interesting if you look at the center map over there with the conserved land. One of the things that has happened since the last chapter, since the last master plan update and since the last open space plan from 2007, there's been a lot of conserved land. And in particular, if you look at the purple, which is the open space subdivision, so that's one of the things that has come out in the last, I don't know when that was first put in, but it's in the last 10 or 15 years. So a lot of land is getting conserved around open space subdivisions, which is neighborhood areas if you live in those, as well as another conserved land. I just wanted to point out one thing in terms of the land we've conserved in Newmarket in the last 20 years, so since about 2003. These are land that the town either owns or we hold a conservation easement, so we have some interest, or we have executory interest, which is some of their involvement that we have. So we've conserved 913 acres that cost $4.45 million. And of that, we had roughly $2 million from town sources. So that's from the Conservation Fund, which we get funds from a land exchange tax. So when you take your land out of current use, you pay a fee, and that money goes to part of that money, 50% goes into the Conservation Fund. So then we turn around and help use that to help conserve land. So that's why that works that way. And also we had an open space bond in 2003, and there's also a drinking water fund. So together, $2 million from those funds. But the really exciting part is that we maxed out with $2.5 million of state and federal grants. So we have great partners to help us conserve lands in Newmarket. So those are just lands that we have some interest in as a town. And when you look at the map, there's lots of other conserved land that the Nature Conservancy of Fishing and Game have conserved. And that's because we are such a unique town in terms of ecological features. We're on Great Bay, we have Lambert River, we have the Piscasig River, and we just have some really significant lands. So the other thing that we're pretty keen on in this process is to balance housing and open space and conserving ecological features, because we need both. And there are still some pretty significant areas, but we also want to, really participate and help figure out where we can build, where we can have houses, where we can have economic growth, because we think they're really important for the vibrancy of our community. So both aspects. Yeah, that's everything. Yeah. Thank you.
Great, thank you for that update. And Val, too, thank you very much. So, why are we here today? To eat some food. If you haven't got some food yet, please have some breakfast. If you haven't already. Now we're here to create that vision, as where we want to go 10, 20 years. How do we want to evolve? How do we want to conserve? How do we want to make these special places? Maybe to refine and create new spaces. And so that's what we're doing. And we're also talking about open space. And, like I said, where do we want to conserve? It's where we want to recreate lands. We have it down. And then also, where do we want to grow? Where do we want families to be? Where do we want to add more housing units? think the vacancy rate in the state for housing units is 0.5%, or about 90,000 units deficit through the whole state. So we have a problem here for housing, through a lot of different reasons, So, but this is an opportunity to say, okay, if we want to grow, where do we grow? Where do we want to be? So I think this is a great opportunity to have those discussions. So since 2015, since the last visioning, I think the housing chapter was updated, and this is what we accomplished so far. We went through the goals at that time and what the town has done so far. So first off, a lot of regulations have been amended through the planning board process, their site plan regulations, really to kind of meet times, kind of evolving with the times in order to balance protecting the town's interests and also allow for opportunities for growth, based on the plan and the master plan. And then since 2015, 249 units have been created. Goal is 190 in 10 years, and we've exceeded that. But again, Val pointed out, those are approved units. We're still at, a lot of them haven't been built yet. So again, it comes to why, why aren't they being built? So that's why we're reaching out to developers as well as part of this process to understand, their limitations. And, is there anything that the town can do as well to kind of meet them halfway to facilitate these projects that the town wanted and that improved. The town recently, I would say a year or so ago, planning board, worked on drafts for updating accessory dwelling unit. If anyone's not familiar, it was like in-law apartments. It was kind of a really, I won't say onerous process, but it was a really difficult process to get these types of units built. And the planning board and the town council, they had a joint meeting, discuss, what can we do right now? We see the need. And so this, they said, well, let's maybe look at our ADU regulations, accessory dwelling unit regulations. So the planning board did a great job developing these regulations and really to allow it by right, in single family lots, allow for different types, detached, detached, internal. So really kind of open it up to property owners, giving them more rights back. Say, okay, we understand you have a dynamic family that have different, needs. So we're, this is another way of looking at aging in place too. So really make it flexible. Anyways, so the town, they adopted the new ordinance, and right now, on the books since last year, we have 4 building permits right now, pulled for ADUs. So, and another part of that too, we'll talk about this offline, is financing. So there's some good stuff being done out there. I recommend, just do a plug for Dover. They did a really good job for working with regional banks for ADU financing. So if anyone's ever interested, please contact them for more information. And happy to facilitate that conversation. So in addition to that, we upgraded our wetland floodplain regulations, to make sure that when housing is being built, it won't float away and be damaged. So really good work has been done there. And then understanding of the way our state decides to fund things, the town has worked, town council working identifying those property tax exemptions opportunities to help out folks, kind of relieve the tax burden that they have. So any opportunity to do that. And then, like I said, reduce regulatory barriers. So, we're doing good stuff since then. There's a lot more work that we can do and add to. But I just want to applaud the town and what they've done so far in this past 10 years. Good work on their part. And then open space. Alan did a good, comprehensive update on what we've done so far. So again, kind of communicating, really making sure that people know where the open space in town is. So kind of updating, making sure that to educate and inform, like we have these wonderful spaces. So they've done a great job of wayfinding and kiosk building and whatnot, helping bring people to these spots. And then one of the big issues in conserving land is maintaining. Ellen's keeps on hammering the table about this. When we are conserving these lands, we want to make sure that we're good stewards of land. So, if we do find those opportunities, we want to make sure we have healthy partnerships. So, I think in the past 10 years or so, the town's done an excellent job in creating partnerships, working with local players, local organizations like Southeast Land Trust to help us protect these lands that we find valuable and worth conserving. And then increasing our stormwater management practices, and requiring open space design. So, as you see right here, the town has done some good work from an open space conservation aspect. So right now, I'm going to pass it over to Mark Davis. He is SRPC. He's helping us with our housing data, and he's going to kind of tell us a little story about the market, about the survey, and also some demographic data as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, good morning, everyone. My name is Mark Davey. As others have mentioned, I work for the Stratford Regional Planning Commission, and we've had a lot of a regional facilitation role in this project, and a lot of the data aggregation. Some of you might know that we recently completed a regional housing needs assessment for the whole region. There was one done for every corner of the state. So it is complicated because you are part of Rockingham County, but part of the Stratford Regional Planning Commission. But so there's a little bit of weirdness there, but I'm happy to take you on. The census came out in 2020, right around pandemic times, but that's the federal government's kind of check in with every state, every local government, just to see what's going on, how many people are around. It's just a baseline. So that's every 10 years on the dot. And then the New Hampshire Office of Planning and Development comes out with its own population projections for every town in the state. So paired up with the rest of the seacoast, it's a comparable 3% growth that you're seeing. Obviously, it's not quite to scale just to make the graphics work today, but it's about 3% growth, and then it plateaus off about 2040-ish. What makes us unique in Newmarket is the age breakout. Like I said, the population growth is very comparable to the rest of the seacoast. The previous graph is one you see for many towns in this region. What makes Newmarket stand out is the age breakout. There's kind of a peak of folks my age in that prime young working age, and there's a surge in a lot of our retired age. Declining school ages is not uncommon for New Hampshire, but it is a little bit more pronounced in Newmarket. And again, Newmarket just is known for being one of the younger communities regionally. Median age in Durham, of course, is going to be very, very, very low, UNH next door. But compared to some of the coastal communities have a little bit more of a retiree presence. But Newmarket really, really stands out regionally. That's the fourth youngest across both Stratford and Rockingham counties. So here's the big one. Housing prices have skyrocketed. This comes from our friends at New Hampshire Housing. They do regular reporting on rents and purchase price histories, which was a lot of what we leaned on during the regional housing needs assessment process last year. But you can see the median purchase price has really surged. This is also on the boards at the front as you walked in. My contact info is on there, so like any additional questions, you can reach out to me. There's truly no stupid questions. There was also a data community profile passed around. That's one of our regular publications over at Stratford Regional. So truly no stupid questions, reach out anytime. Moving into rentals, it's a similar story. This is broken out by both regions and number of bedrooms. Apologize for the colorful spaghetti on the wall. But this is really not much better, and it's been very pronounced since COVID, of course. Newmarket has more renters than Rockingham County, and just regionally, and that's partially just because of how young it is, but also just the geography. It historically, prior to the coast bus route getting cut, it was a very popular, or still is a very popular UNH student destination for housing. As Bart mentioned earlier, the vacancy rate is another way to measure the housing market. A healthy vacancy rate is traditionally considered about 5%, and it's been well below 1% in the Seacoast for many years now. I think at one point in 2022, this number would translate to a low of about 300 rental units available throughout the whole Seacoast. This was supposed to be Newmarket, but anyway, regionally, another way to look at this is just the housing that's been built. This is a very common chart you would find for most towns in New Hampshire, the state as a whole, perhaps even the nation as a whole. Just a significant drop-off of housing being built following the recession era, about 2008, 2009. I've highlighted 2018 in red because that it is an outlier for multifamily housing being built. That was the year Riverwoods was built over in Durham. But the other thing to note, and that would have been more prominent on a chart of just Newmarket, is that we're traditionally one of the powerhouses for multifamily building in this region. Sort of Newmarket, Dover, and sometimes Durham are sort of the powerhouses, and Somersworth. I hesitate to say the word heavy lifting, but it is just of note in Newmarket. So moving into the survey, a couple folks, that's also on one of the poster boards when you walked in this morning. A couple folks approached me, and I did forget to put on there that this was, correct me if I'm wrong, somebody, but this was through the holidays into the beginning of the new year was the survey. And it was a response rate of over 400 individuals responded. So that is really, really good. Compared to a lot of surveys that we've done for other towns in the region, 400 is an excellent number. As others have stated, there's more to come, so I really hope nobody feels like they missed out. Thank you again for being here and providing us some in-person feedback as well. The largest takeaway from the housing half of the survey is the cost, of course, followed by safety concerns, but also followed by green space and proximity to recreation. That's a huge standout for Newmarket. That it's not that other towns don't care, but it just was of note that it got mentioned over and over and over in Newmarket's survey. The graph you see on the left is a breakdown of cost burden, how much folks are spending on their housing. Traditionally, you're meant to budget about 30% of your monthly income for housing, and that's all of your housing costs, your rent, your mortgage, your utilities, your parking pass, whatever you have. The younger you go, the more people are spending on housing. And that's, of course, the under 25 is going to have a significant amount of folks who say are not paying for their housing. Maybe they're students, maybe they still live at home, something else, but overwhelmingly they are more cost burdened. Here on the right, you have some key quotes that we pulled out, and this is just alluding more to a lot of the call for green space and proximity to green space when folks are choosing housing in Newmarket, in the Seacoast generally. And I will pass it to Autumn for the open space half of the survey. Thanks, folks.
Thank you, Mark. Hi, my name is Autumn Scott. I work for the Stratford Regional Planning Commission, and I do a lot of environmental and community engagement work at SRPC. So I'm going to just highlight a couple of the open space questions and responses that we received. We saw a lot of people expressing similar sentiments in the survey, which is really great. It seems like a lot of community members are in alignment when it comes to open space and conservation. Almost 80% of people support protecting water resources through additional local regulations, so that's your zoning ordinance, site plan, subdivision. Almost 80% of people also indicated that preserving and enhancing the natural environment of the riverfront is either very or extremely important to them. And that kind of is exemplified by the fact that it's going to have its own chapter in the master plan. So that's an exciting development this year, I think. And also, over half of respondents said that Newmarket should balance resources equally among housing, open space, conservation, and water resource protection, which I think is also exemplified by the makeup of your planning board and your conservation commission and the work that they're doing for your community. So here's some more sentiments that were expressed in the survey, kind of similar. About 67% of people indicated that it's very important for new housing developments to incorporate sustainable design. Again, 67% of people responded that they were either aware of programs or information about Newmarket's conservation areas and water resources. And I think that's clear as well by some of the responses on the maps around the room. And 2 out of 5 people utilize your local parks, different recreational areas, or conservation land for outdoor activities weekly, which that's 40% of people going around town to your outdoor spaces weekly, which is really great. And then I thought this was interesting as well. When you think of the bounds of Newmarket, not the entire community you may think of as walkable, but more people indicated that they do commute to the downtown area by walking rather than by using a car, which is good news. So I'll pass it off to Angie.
So what we're doing next, yes. Thank you. So moving forward from this visioning process, these are kind of a list of key events that are going to take place next year or so. We're going to continue collecting data, so we'll be for the chapters. So we'll be reaching out to stakeholders, expertise, conducting interviews, collecting this data to help us develop the chapters, help SRPC, town develop these planning board chapters, master plan. And then we'll be finishing up the open space and housing by this June. So those chapters will be headed over to the plan board for a public public comment, public hearing. So please stay tuned for that. We have some links, QR codes and links to help you get to those pages of the town's website. In case you don't know where it is, they are. So please take a look at that. And then coming up this early spring, June, we're going to do a lot of other surveys coming up related to recreation, arts and tourism, energy. So we're going to kind of just throughout this whole summer, spring, early summer, send out those surveys. So we hope you participate in those to really help us understand where you like to go, what you want here for Newmarket. And then we'll have another community workshop in September, first week of September, kind of go over those data, and have another opportunity, to really tell us, where we want to go, how you want to develop, how you want to grow. And then in October, mark the calendars, 18th and 19th, Plan New Hampshire is going to come help us kind of do a similar event that we're doing right now. And it's a 2-day event, and it's really to help us understand how we want understand how the downtown riverfront is used by you all, and how we want to grow, how we want to use it in the future. So, that's a really special spot in town, and there's a lot of great ideas out there, but until we have a real understanding what everyone wants, we shouldn't move forward with any type of plans. So this is a great opportunity to really, create a plan, or at least, where to go to create plans. So we're really looking forward to that, and we really thank those folks at Plan New Hampshire for helping us out with that facilitation. So that's coming up next. So stay tuned. There's also one more opportunity for visioning. We're actually going to have a visioning week on April 8th through wherever that week ends. But that week, the Riverfront Advisory Committee, Planning Board, Conservation Commission and the Master Plan Subcommittee all meet, and then those are opportunities for you to come to any of those meetings. Check the website when they all meet, and to have a discussion. We're all going to talk about visioning that week. So we just figured it's another opportunity to, get input and, really finalize what that vision is going to be. So please visit the website to find out more information, the town website. So questions? So here we are, we're at the end. If you have any questions, email me. You can email Autumn Scott. Autumn, yay. And Mark Davey as well, and Andrew Cleveland over here, SRPC folks. I just want to take a moment here to really give them a round of applause. They did a really, really That's awesome. Thank you. So now, time to have a conversation.
I'd like to see more residential housing within walking distance of downtown.
Thank you. Yeah, no, definitely walkability, housing, especially in the downtown area. Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, right over there in the back.
I didn't want to know when the show was starting.
Well, during Vision Week, there'll be no opportunities, so.
I'd like to see more connectivity between neighborhoods that is not tied to the road network, or walking and bicycling.
So trails and like commuter paths, stuff like that. It's like, I'll get out of the way so you can scan. Anyone said over here?
So this is less about ultimate vision and more about the process, but I see people from the library and the rec and all over. I was wondering if anyone reached out to the high school or the schools, and if there are any teenagers like involved in civic or council things. But I think that most of them bring in another set of parents as well. So it's just an observation about this event.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, we did work with the school. It's not Newmarket School District. I'd like a round of applause for them too for hosting us. Thank you so much, Todd and your crew, facilities crew. Yeah, we did reach out to them to get a newsletter out. I do agree. They're a huge part of our community, and you get them out too.
At the PTA meeting, a lot of parents had gotten an email and kind of like flyer.
Okay.
So I don't know if there's any more like direct involvement opportunities, with like activities, but definitely face to face.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Let me know when you have questions.
I should be doing the QR code stuff, so right before your question, sorry. Do not go on Wi-Fi, it doesn't seem to be working, so if you are on Wi-Fi, it's telling you Safari or whatever browser, just remove that or turn Wi-Fi off and it will work. So you should see a screen that asks you for your name, and then you can continue, and that's it. So if you're not seeing that, let me know when I'm happy.
Ingrid Goldberg from Braille Circle. I'm wondering what outreach you've done with senior citizens, like through the senior center or other groups, to get at the needs that seniors might have in terms of walkability or accessibility to the community.
Right. Yeah. No, great question. We will be, always trying to improve. So, when we're doing our outreach programs, we will be moving to different areas, different folks, different communities that help facilitate. Right. So we do work with recreation, and then especially when we're doing our recreation chapter.
Right. I'm thinking a lot of senior citizens might not think of themselves as rec center folks, and they may need to have something that says very clearly senior citizens, because if they see rec center, it may just be, oh, those are the kids playing soccer downtown.
Yeah, no, that's a great point.
That's a really good point, and I'll just add as well, we'll be starting the community facilities and utilities chapter soon, and the Sunrise Sunset Center was one of the centers that we want to approach to be part of that update. So, yeah.
So we do have a question right here. With more housing being requested for downtown, what do we envision?
I can take
Oh, yeah, sure.
it. I would say,
This is going to be a very regional effort just because the regional housing needs assessment occurred like just last year. There's a lot of state housing money floating around to all the different municipalities. So we at Stratford Regional are actually working with Dover and Somersworth and Farmington. Like everybody in this region right now has some kind of housing project going on right now. So it's going to be a very regional effort. We're all going to share and compare notes. And really, we're still in the gathering input, gathering data for baseline. So there's a lot of case studies and research still to be done. So thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
I have a question. I know we're talking a lot about housing, but maybe you can say if we've had any focus on business development, maybe outside of the downtown area to add to our tax base to support the town. Are we looking at that kind of development as well?
Yeah, the town has done a gateway study. I think it was done in 2019 and identified 3 areas where there's opportunities for that more business growth. And it was more of like a mixed-use growth. So we have done that, but yeah, I think that's a great point. You know, where are those opportunities? So, you know, maybe continuing that effort. That's a great point.
Mark,
Yes.
economic development there.
Excuse me.
The EDC, the economic development chapter, you will press that.
That's great. Yeah, there will be a chapter. Good point, though. Right. We'll build up there, then I'll get so many.
Bill, I'm Sherry, Rio Circle as well. Having served on the Economic Development Committee a while back, there was a lot of effort in looking at, you know, how to attract the most, the best tax base or more commercial facilities and more assessed value property, I guess, a higher assessment. One of the recommendations that came out of was, since manufacturing or commerce was not probably going to work so much anymore, with medical or sort of assisted living facilities was a recommendation, I think, that was a suggestion or recommendation of an overlay district. So that was one thing that was put out there, and maybe could be continued in this visioning assessment.
Thank you, Bill.
Sylvia, 40 Elm Street. So as a planner, I've worked with developers, and since I don't own, I only own my property, and developers really are the ones who come to the table with the idea. I'm just wondering if Newmarket has what I've heard as a lookbook, which is kind of from, whether it's an architectural committee or something, where we as a community can showcase what we envision as what the housing would look like, so that when a developer does come in, we have an idea of what, whatever, if it's a downtown home or multifamily or whatever it looks like, we have ideas on what that would look like, how it would fit in the community, so that we're ready for the developer when he comes or she comes.
I'm going to get some level of
Yes. I will start. That's a great segue, thank you, Sylvia, into this question from someone on their device. In so many New Hampshire communities, the downtowns we love could not be built under current zoning. Is this true of downtown Newmarket? As part of this process, we're going to look into that. The short answer is probably yes, but we are going to look into that, and we have hired a consultant to look into form-based code, and I will let her talk all about that.
Hi, I'm Ivy Van, and I am the form-based code person here today. And what form-based code is, it's a way of thinking about what gets built, not so much looking at what's inside the box of the building, but what the building looks like, how tall it is, where it sits on the lot, how it approaches the street. So what I'm going to be doing in the next 4 months is talking to you about some possibilities. I have a really fun exercise for us to do in the second half of this event. And looking at what kind of buildings do we think are appropriate for various places. And then that will be part of the proposed way of looking at how Newmarket grows. So yeah, coming soon to you, you know, as Sylvia said, it's kind of a lookbook. It's a very similar kind of thing. And I find it hugely helpful because it gives you, the residents, a chance to say, this is the kind of buildings we'd like to see. It's great for developers because they can look and say, oh, this is what they want. They're less likely to argue with me about it. It's great for the town because it makes the whole process smoother. And you get what you want. So hold that thought. It's coming soon.
I'll take it.
I'm Bob Daigle, 43 Elm Street. Are there any provisions for workforce housing? Any thoughts about that?
Yes, part of the general thought right now, in the town planning board, conversations, town council is, in the past, it's like, how can we get more types of housing? So workforce housing, kind of a healthy ecology of housing. So part of that is having workforce housing in town. So that's why it's really important, to understand, the community, and understanding, going through, what Aggie's doing or, what we are doing in developing the housing chapter is really making sure that we are not, say, dispelling long-time residents because they can't afford it. We want to have people, who want to live here are able to live here. And, part of that is having different types of housing, different housing types. So, and then just so we allow for those folks to age in place, new folks coming in and afford to start homes and whatnot. So that's definitely on our mind as we're going through this process. Yeah, there are some state funds held for that, but some of them, from my understanding, and maybe Sarah can help me out here if I need to speak, but it's not in perpetuity. So it's only for a certain amount of time. So, did I misspeak, Sarah? Thumbs up, didn't. So, yeah, sure.
Follow-up comment on that. So some of the developers in Newmarket have tried to seek that funding, with approved projects, and they just, it's the big developers, Manchester, been getting that. And then the other thing about workforce housing is under the statute that was, the law that was approved, we do have the affordable elderly housing ordinance, and by law, that also applies to workforce housing. So if a developer does come before us with a workforce housing concept, it would fall under our current ordinance relative to the elderly affordable. So we have zoning in place for that. Is it the best zoning? No, everything can be approved. But to your point, we would definitely encourage that, and we have currently we have an avenue to achieve that.
Thank you, Bob. Chris?
So, Dan Smith, Ladies Drive. In the same vein as what Bob was suggesting, are there things we could do from a zoning or planning standpoint that would discourage developers from building new units that are really targeted toward the top dollar out of the state, drop-in market versus building more units that are more middle of the market, aimed for, young families or people moving up in the workforce, younger folks?
So from my understanding, we cannot discriminate that way. There's no statute really compelling developers to build affordable housing. In some other states, people familiar, like Massachusetts, they have that. Maine, you can do it, but not necessarily here in New Hampshire. So the idea is to have a flexible zoning that allows for, like I said, a healthy, if you say you're going to develop a neighborhood, like a new neighborhood, allowing for different types of housing to be built there. So you allow for that opportunity to have a healthy social, economic neighborhood.
you're not segregating by, wealth. So that's the goal, but every situation can be different too. So if we have this flexible zoning to allow for different types of housing to be built, then that can be accommodated for. The developer can see there's an opportunity, or the town wants this. So that's why it's really important to really, the town tell developers what they want. And you do that through the regulation. So again, it's an opportunity, I think, to correct. So Mark? While we're on the topic of zoning, I just want to make sure everyone feels heard. There are a couple zoning questions in the queue here. The master plan is a great start, but what is the plan for changing zoning regs to allow these types of housing? Have we covered everything? Have we covered all that? Yeah. So again, this kind of gives the rational basis for the planning board and town council to change the regulations. So that's why it's very important to have this process through the visioning and also the housing chapter.
Yeah, and I'll just add a little bit more to that. At the end of each chapter and in the implementation guide, there's specific goals and then discrete actions under those. And in those actions will be written, we want this policy to improve this element of the community. And again, that allows for the town, the planning board to, contract people like us or admin in to improve those regulations and do those rewrites for you.
Circling back to, I believe it was still Sylvia's question, how is the historical character of Newmarket being considered in tandem with growth and progress? Yeah, and that's part of Ivy's work that we're doing. So form-based code is really, you're regulating, just to iterate, you're regulating the design. So when we're reaching out to the communities, when we're going to the neighborhoods to have these discussions, okay, we identify this area as a place for opportunity to rezone. What do you want it to look like? We don't want to blow up neighborhoods. We want neighborhoods to evolve. We want them to have agency over what that design is going to be. So that's why it's really important to have those conversations and make sure that if we are going to change the zoning, then we're doing it right. There's a lot of buy-in. Not going to necessarily, not everyone's going to agree, but it's just the act of reaching out and having those conversations, I think has a lot of value and more success in, allowing for those neighborhoods to change if they were to change. So that's where we get that type of design from that question. Would it be easier to build up more housing near downtown or try to build new neighborhoods and houses outside of downtown? So, great question. There's always opportunities for redevelopment. I think where we want to think about when we're looking at opportunities to rezone is where's the existing infrastructure. A big part of this is, if we want to add density, or we want to see where there's opportunities for growth is where's the water source, and then also to plan. Okay, if we have the capacity from which for water and sewer, where do we want to expand? So that's why it's really important. And there's, you can also plan neighborhoods too that are not relying on water and sewer, but you just want to do it right, you want the size right. So at the same time, that's why it's really important. That's why I like to have housing and open space together, because it allows for that you to see both. Say, okay, there's opportunities for coexistence. There's opportunities where we want this area to be conserved. We want opportunities for neighborhoods to connect, maybe not just by roads, but by trails and whatnot. So I think having those two together is powerful. I apologize that these have not populated correctly on the board, and I am trying to get it to everybody, but they are coming to me out of order, unfortunately. And not to rush anybody, but there will be so much opportunity where no one's leaving, no one's going anywhere. You can pull literally any of us aside for questions. We are going to be transitioning to some of these activities are going to switch over and be a little bit different than this morning. We'll take a few more questions in the meantime. How can Newmarket influence state road and other transportation improvements that link us to the region? And how does the population density of Newmarket compare to surrounding communities? Is there a target density population based on existing infrastructure? There's a lot of pressure on current roads. I can actually take this. One of our key things at Stratford, program areas at Stratford Regional Planning is the transportation planning of this region. We're what's called a metropolitan planning organization. So we get special federal transportation dollars to do a lot of the transportation planning in this region. Lindsay is one of our dedicated technical advisory members on one of our committees. So we get a lot of input from Bart and Lindsay and other folks who, residents, not just town staff, who come to a lot of our meetings, and we work with the surrounding towns to figure out what kind of transportation projects will get implemented in Newmarket. And of course, housing and development is always a part of that conversation. And we have a relationship with Coast and UNH Wildcat and UNH Planning, just to see where all those kind of commuter things link up. So it is very much part of the conversation.
So I think maybe 2 more questions, and we'll transfer.
Yeah. Are there any in-person? I saw a couple more hands in the audience.
Anyone got an in-person question? Alan? It's you? Yes. All right. Coming over.
So I was in Portsmouth this week, and you can really see the amount of development they're doing, pretty massive actually, but it doesn't seem like they've incorporated any, well, there's sidewalks, but in terms of green pathways, so that you retain some of that. I'm thinking about downtown redevelopment. I think we all agree it would be great to add more housing, but I'm wondering with the form-based zoning and sort of our existing infrastructure, how do we ensure that we can incorporate those green connectors? Because I think we all really want more trails and connectors off the roads. Roads are pretty dangerous.
Yeah, great question, Alan. So through our site regs and subdivision regs, we're having, you can have those standards, but you got to be really careful because you can't really, like, say there's an easement or something, you can't exact an easement in this process. Taking things. So what we do is work with those projects and say, hey, here's an opportunity to have it. So you can have it as a kind of a design, so it could be used internally, but we can't say it has to be open to the public. So, but like I said, through regulations, we can have that.
I'll read this one because I like it. Newmarket has so much diversity in housing. Many neighborhoods are walkable. Is it possible we are already doing it right?
I think we are. Like, there's always room for improvement, right? And also, there's no real. We do have a skywalk plan, but I'll do another plug. Conservation commissions, they just have a policy called Pathways for People and Nature. So it's kind of laying down a framework for at least the Conservation Commission in their efforts to kind of identify those areas where there's outdoor recreation opportunities, and to extend it, to maintain it, and also for those areas where it's more sensitive for wildlife. We want to preserve those as well. So it's kind of having both. So, so we are doing a great job. I think we have a great opportunity to improve it. I have some ideas as well as we move forward. We want to maybe interconnect all our trails, which I think would be helpful because that just means we get around the town much easier without using automobiles. So I think any opportunities to do that as well would be welcome. But again, it's for all you to decide. So, so we are doing a great job, and happy to help out to expand those good efforts. And I'll do any more in-person questions. One more. Go once. Oh, gotcha.
I do have a question. Earlier, somebody made a comment that Bureau was changing housing zoning rules. It will impact on what that is.
I'll have to go contact my friend Michael Barrett at the Town Hall in Durham and see what they're doing. But yes, so let's just say hypothetically they change their zoning to allow for larger development to occur.
there's an RSA on the books called regional impact. So we wouldn't necessarily have a say on those zoning changes. Unlike say for them, they wouldn't have any say for us, but if there's any type of development that meets those thresholds, the town would have to be notified. So, so we don't necessarily have a say, but we can express our concerns if it reaches those thresholds. I don't at this point. Again, I have to find out more information. So, but I can follow up with you. Okay, so let's see anyone else. We have some more activities. You have to stay. We walk in the doors. No, just kidding. So we've updated our maps over there. We have on the left right there, the one that says land use. We have these really nifty cards that have different housing types, mixed use, single families, starter homes, whatnot, commercial buildings. And basically what we want you to help us with is to look at these cards and show us where you'd like to look. Where can you see these types of buildings in Newmarket? So Ivy, Dan, and myself will be facilitating that. And basically we will just help us identify where you think these should go or not. Preferably where to go. And then in addition to that, we're doing let's see. Oh yes, our newspaper. So we got two spots here. This table and one we're still using. And this is a newspaper exercise. And what we would like you to do, help us with, is develop the front page. Help us edit the front page. For free. No. We provide food. So really, what we want you to help us with is, what are the headlines in Newmarket? And so this is whatever paper you choose. What are the headlines? What pictures appear in Newmarket on that front page? What are any graphics or charts to show? What does the article say? What are the headlines? What have we accomplished in Newmarket these 20 years? Who are the people, businesses, entities highlighted? What are some key accomplishments that the town has done? For example, housing, energy, transportation, conservation. So really, kind of help us showcase all the good or potentially bad. This is, gotta have both sometimes. But we really want you to understand, where do you see the market? What are the headlines? So we got two tables right there. Lisa Murphy and Sylvia Bonal. They're gonna help us edit, be our editors. And so please, we welcome you to those tables to help us participate in those. And we have one more option. What's the other one? Okay, yeah. Unfortunately, I did just figure out how to scroll this whole time. We are going to be moving into a different version of this at the end, and that's just more like on your own as you go about the room. It'll auto-populate, hopefully, with a word cloud and some more visioning, a little bit more free form. So people have already done it. But yeah, if anyone still wants to play with their phone, there's 3 more questions, and so I'll just have the QR code up as you all are walking around the room.
And then also for the conservation one too, it's like, where do you want, so kind of like housing, where would you like to see types of housing, type of development? And then the conservation is, what would you like, what type of open space you'd like to see? So it's kind of that's, where we go in the future type of thing. So we already identified what we like about the environment so far. So now it's more, all right, where do we want to go with it in regards to open space recreation? So that's what the other map is for. Meanwhile, you can still keep on writing on the table what you love about your market. So please. And we have, if you haven't done it already, we have a little podcast room right up there. Sarah Reitzman is helping us with that. And so if you want to talk about, today, and visioning and whatnot, please sit down there. I've done it. A few of you have done it already. It's great. So we really appreciate it if you do that.
And then Amy down here.
From current home, to your ideal home. Pool, whatever.
Yeah. So if you're in a current home to ideal home, what would we like to see? So please build some Legos over there at Drops, and please help us out with that. So yeah, so you're free. Thank you so much, SRPC, volunteers, everyone, and all of you. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate it.